In this video, I'm going to run you through my Ecoflow stream setup. I'm going to show you how it's configured. I'm going to show you the pros and cons of it. And now I've been living with it for a little while, I'm going to reveal my true verdict of if this system is worth your money. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. I've got loads more of this kind of content coming. I've got solar projects coming out of my ears right now. I also do stuff about electric vehicles and electric bikes and all that sort of stuff to try and save you money. Okay. Where shall we begin? As a quick recap from my previous video, this is the Ecoflow Stream Ultra. It has 4 solar panel inputs on them. They sometimes referred to as MPPTs, MC4 inputs, but all you need to know is you can connect 4 large solar panels to this if you want, or up to 4. This is the AC Pro. They are connected together by this parallel connection cable. And so there is only this one that is connected to the grid and connected to my home, but this one kind of piggybacks through there like a daisy chain. Okay, now what's new to the system, as you can see, I've got a bit of a legacy solar system. My long-time watchers will know all about that. You can go back in the channel, you can see the installation of that. Very happy with that. It's hooked up to 22 panels on the roof. And this is the original building consumer unit. This one was installed for the solar system. This one is installed for the heat pump. This one's just a isolator for this board. What I now have installed is this little energy meter. These are made by Shelley for Ecoflow. And this is measuring all of the power that is used by this one, and this one. And because this is the Ecoflow Shelley X something Pro 3EM, I think it is. It has 3 different clamps that measure. Let me show you that actually. So here on the outside of the building, I've got my meter cupboard, and you can see I've got the main power coming in, the 100 amp cutout up to the smart meter. Then it comes into this isolator, and then out of the isolator, it comes into these Henley blocks here. Now these Henley blocks split it into 3 ways, okay? And these are the 3 meters that I've got on here. This one is for the original consumer unit, for the original board, so it's A. This one here, B, is for the solar consumer unit, and C is for my heat pump consumer unit. So these are basically just like magnetic coils, and they're called current transformers, or CT clamps. And they literally just sit round the cables, and they can measure how much energy is going in either direction. This is how the Ecoflow stream system knows how much power to inject into the mains, into the circuit, to supply your house and keep your energy consumption at 0 or as close to 0 as possible. So those CT clamps have to come back up to here. Now out of the box, this little Shelley device here, here it is, Ecoflow X Shelley smart meter, Shelley Pro 3EM. So it's just a rebranded Shelley Pro 3EM, but the Ecoflow integrates directly into the app, and apparently it has slightly better lower lag, lower latency, so the Ecoflow devices can be more responsive. But to get this to connect to this, the cables aren't long enough. So these CT clamps were extended with a Cat5e cable to get it the other side of this wall out to the incoming feed, just under a meter of Cat5e cable. Now that's not normally recommended, but I have verified the power consumption reported in the Ecoflow app through that monitor against the smart meter. Sorry, I'm getting into the weeds of things, but ultimately they tell you not to extend CT clamps, but in this case it's all worked out fine. Now I'm just going to start recording my screen so you can see on the app a little bit of the reality of how this works. So right now you can see up in the top left hand bit there, that shows the grid at 1.45 kilowatts. That's showing how much is going out to the grid, and the solar is producing 1.45, and that's my existing solar system. I didn't have to program this to know that. It just knows because the energy is flowing in one direction. It knows that I am currently exporting 1.47 kilowatts of solar power from my existing system, and at the moment the battery is supplying 0 watts, and the battery system is at 79%. And that, you can see the 2 different units there. the AC Pro and the Stream Ultra. And at the moment, because I'm doing a little project, okay, quickly cut to the garden project and you'll understand why I don't have any solar panels connected to the Ultra at the moment as I make this video. The vertical array that we were going to fit up here on this gable end, on the exposed end, not shaded by this building, that's kind of been put on hold just for a moment because we've got more pressing matters to deal with. This is why we're in desperate need of a shed upgrade, and it's a perfect opportunity to build a 4 metre by 3 metre. The back end is about 2.4 metres high to stay under permitted development, and that means we can get 6 panels on there, 6 big panels. If you had to choose one of these panels, which one would you go for, the left or the right? If you're putting them on your house roof, maybe you think the aesthetics don't make much of a difference and you just look at the data sheet and the technical specifications. When you get a bit closer up, you can see on this panel, for example, you can see all of the conductors, all of the cells, all exposed. Whereas on this one, doesn't matter how closely you try, and even shining a flashlight on it, a torch, you can't really see much. So some of them, I mean, they all claim to be true black, but there's clearly a significant difference between the options. Now, if you chose the left-hand panel over the right-hand panel, if I told you that that one was £20 more than this one, would you still buy that one? Because if you're putting up 10 panels, then straight away, you know, 10 times 20, £200 difference over the system. Maybe it's worth it for the look. But in actual fact, in the case of these two panels, this one on the right is the expensive one, and the one on the left is the cheaper one. The one on the left also boasts slightly better efficiency and looks better. You can see there's a slight height difference as well. This is 450 watts, this is 505 watts. Neither of these panels are bifacial, because bifacial is not going to help me where we're going. Both of them have similar white back sheets. Of course, they all have the MC4 connectors. These have aluminium frames. In terms of build quality between these, I would not be surprised if these have come out of the same factory. They look identical. Okay, now you're back with me. The Ecoflow smart meter, you can see there in the top left hand, it's reporting minus 1.53 kilowatts. That means we're exporting. And if I tap on there, and it's waking itself up, now minus 1.57. And you can see that our main household consumer unit is taking 256 watts with computer and everything else on a base load, and then we are actually exporting 1.89 kilowatts, and 9 watts is being consumed by my heat pump, running on standby, basically not doing anything. So that is roughly how this works. It's just measuring what is either going to the grid or coming from the grid, and then it will try and keep it at 0. So for example, if I now go into the settings here, and if I change my charge limit up to 100 or closer, oh, there we go, 100%, press the tick. Okay, now we should get, there you go, okay. Now we can see that the stream devices are charging. There's a little lightning arrow next to them, and it is only using my solar to charge. At the moment, well, you can see actually it's not reacting very quickly. You can see a small amount is coming from the grid, but mostly that is, there you go, it's almost at 0 for a second there, but of course the solar is fluctuating consistently. It's a horrible grey day today. I mean, look, it's just thick cloud cover, so the solar's not doing that well. But the Ecoflow units are charging predominantly off my existing solar setup, not with any of the solar panels connected to them. Of course, this isn't an efficient way to do it, and the reason why it's not efficient is because the DC is coming into this inverter. It's then incurring roughly about a 10% loss. This is then sending it through the AC cable, which is then coming into these, and then each one of these has its own inverter, which is then converting it back into DC to store it in the battery. And once again, you're incurring a loss as it's converting that energy from AC to DC. So it's much more efficient to just use the direct inputs on the Ultra, and one of the reasons why The AC Pro is okay if you really can't do solar, but if you can even get 1 or 2 panels, definitely go for the Ultra or the Max, one that has solar panel inputs. It's just a more efficient system and less losses. Anyway, right, let's turn off the charge thing. So I've just been keeping it at that recommended 80%. Apparently that will increase your battery life and longevity. For me, it's you can see it reacts really quickly there. Stop charging, and then it's now exporting everything to the grid. Previously, before I had the smart meter fitted, I had it in the other mode. So if I click on here on the blue one, for example, you click on semi-automated monitoring, and then basically what I was doing previously was I had timers, but I had set basically throughout the day when it was the peak rate. I just basically had these devices constantly exporting 150 watts, and so they were just constantly pushing out 150 watts. I don't have any devices plugged directly into the plug sockets, which of course you can do. That's another strategy. But I just had it constantly pushing out 150 watts. So if I go here now and go back, you can see now it is pushing 150 watts from these into the grid, and because I've changed the mode, it's no longer monitoring the grid energy and it knows about my other solar system. I'm just pushing this into the grid alongside that as well. So you can as well, because this is, I've got it set on the wrong region. It will go up to 600 watts, so you can just force it to export 600 watts. But I don't think that's the best way to run the system and not the most efficient way. I think it's much better to use it with one of the energy monitors. The one that I've fitted, the energy meter here, is the more expensive one, so I appreciate if you prefer to go for the simple one that just has one clamp that goes around your main input. That's going to do the job just as well for you. I just wanted to obtain a little bit more data and utilize it, because all of the Shelly stuff can be brought into Home Assistant, and it can produce reports independently of Ecoflow as well. So if, for example, my main solar panel system wasn't there and I didn't have enough sunlight to cover the base load of the property, then you would see the flow of energy would look slightly differently and the battery would pick up the slack. At the moment, for some reason, I've got it set on Slovenia, which would mean that this would only put out a maximum of 600 watts, which actually for me is plenty at the moment. This time of year, I don't need any more than that, because my solar is pretty much all the time, as it's daylight, is kicking out 1.5 to 2 kilowatts pretty much all the time throughout the day. And so all of my heavy appliances I load shift and I run them in the evening, or I run them through the night from midnight onwards when I have the really cheap energy rate. Okay, was that little overview helpful to you if you're considering the Ecoflow Stream series? What am I missing? What do you want to know more of? I'm trying not to use too much jargon, too many acronyms, so flag me and pick me up on it if I have done in this video. Now, ultimately, I want to come to a bit of a conclusion for you, and here are the cons of the Ecoflow Stream series. Each one of these units, yes, they are portable and they're easy to handle, easy to expand, but each one of these units has its own inverter. When that inverter is on, and basically it's on and running 24 hours a day, that inverter is using energy. It's not using a huge amount of energy. It's not like a giant inverter like that one up there, that one throughout the day can sometimes, the inverter itself can take 200 watts just to run that, which is more than the average base load of the average home. These little Ecoflow Stream inverters don't use anywhere near that energy, but just be aware that they do consume energy. And so if you, for example, charge these and you put 1 kilowatt of energy in there, straight away you're losing 10% of that through the conversion losses, if you're charging from the grid, that is. And it seems like most people are considering doing that, charging on a cheap tariff. So straight away you're losing 10% of your energy. Maybe to be more accurate, it's not losing 10%. I mean, it is, it's typically converted into heat energy, but the you need to put an extra 10% in to get your 1 kilowatt, okay? And not only that, when you come to use it, you're going to lose another 10% on the conversion as well. So the problem I have with the Ecoflow Stream series is I think the batteries are just too small. I can see why this 1.92 kilowatt hour battery is ideal for smaller properties, smaller, you know, just single person occupancies, things like that. Perhaps that's enough just to get you through the expensive tariff. But I think the Stream Ultra X that's coming, that is basically 2 of these together, in terms of battery capacity, but the inverter is still the same internally. You then have a lot more capacity, so you don't have to run 2 inverters, you don't have that loss. The conversion losses, yes, whilst they're an issue, you can then charge a full 4 kilowatt hours or almost 4 kilowatt hours, and you've got a lot more without multiple connections, the expansion cable, blah blah blah. I think that that's a better buy, and I don't know if it's worth you waiting for that, because it may just be better. You might find you just need to jump on the gravy train and get something. I think these, ideally, as they have they've grown out of balcony solar, and I think that really is the sweet spot. If you can set up solar panels to charge these, it's way better than trying to charge these overnight on the off-peak tariff. I have done a little YouTube short of how to schedule these so they charge on the off-peak tariff, because that's basically what I'm doing with them at the moment. They charge on the off-peak tariff at 5:30 p.m. because I'm on Octopus Intelligent Go. Then the batteries take over until the solar panels kick in. Then the solar panels kick in, and the batteries, whatever energy they've used from like 5:30 a.m. to 7:30 a.m., they get topped up by the solar inverter. And then when the sun goes down, 8 p.m. or whatever it is, 7:30, 8 p.m., then the batteries take over, and the batteries then just carry me through to midnight or 11:30 p.m. until the next cheap rate starts. If I had solar panels plugged into these, then I would be able to export more of my energy from that solar inverter, and Octopus Energy are paying me 15p per kilowatt hour. So the more I can export, the more credit I can build up to pay off my winter bills. So the big question is, would I recommend these? And the answer is yes, with caveats. Do your sums. Do your homework, do your research. If you are unsure about your consumption or how much you can generate, start with one of the AI LLMs, like ChatGPT, Gemini, and just type into there in English, in your most basic English, and let it do the work for you. Put in your location, tell it that you're going to get 2 500 watt solar panels and what direction you can face them, and then ChatGPT will tell you roughly how much energy you can produce connected to one of these. Then you'll be able to work out, okay, realistically, how much money am I going to save? You can start modeling this. ChatGPT is really helpful if you're not confident with figures and spreadsheets and understanding how much you can generate and unit rates and how much you can save. Start with some of those AI models and try and get a good grasp of how much money this could save you, because there's a few people in the comments of the previous video that did really well, that they were working out for themselves they could pay off the cost of this system within 2 years. And of course the warranty goes long beyond that for the batteries. And of course this is something portable, you can take it with you if you're camping, away from home, and if you're moving, it's a really convenient system for that. So there's a lot of pros. Of course the cons are something to consider. You need to consider that the full 1.92 kilowatt hours of battery storage capacity is not available to you. And you have to also consider, if you want to go really big, then this becomes quite an expensive, uneconomical way to do it. I know that you can, in theory, daisy chain loads of these. Is it 12 modules? Something crazy. Or maybe it's 6 modules, 12 kilowatt hours, something like that. I don't think that's an economical way to do it. I think really the sweet spot is either one of the big X's that is coming soon, or just 2 of these units, as I've got set up here. Anything more than that 4 kilowatt hour system, I think you're going to be better off looking at other products. Ecoflow do some bigger brothers that you could look at, and there's lots of other competition as well. I'm not saying you have to go for Ecoflow. I just think if you're looking below 4 kilowatt hours, or below the kind of 5 kilowatt hour mark, then I think these are a worthy thing to look at. Whether you're comfortable doing some sort of DIY thing, getting an electrician to just make the final connection for you, or whether you want to get an electrician to do the whole thing and wire up some solar panels and stuff for you, it's still quite an economical way because it's a one single box solution. It's an all-in-one solution, similar to like a Tesla Powerwall, just a heck of a lot cheaper, smaller, lower capacity, also not as efficient on the inverter. I've waffled on way too long. I hope some of my musings about the Ecoflow stream system have been helpful to you. I still think it's a great bit of kit. I don't think there's been any smoking gun that I've found. I have been testing a load of other things. You will have seen that in the short videos. I did whack the case off the AC Pro to have a little look at the build. Very impressed with the industrial design and the way that it's been engineered. So it's very serviceable by Ecoflow. If something did have to go back for a fault, very easy to tear down and put back together. You'll also see in a short, I did put a plug onto one of these so that I could plug it into the new circuit in the house that does have bi-directional protection on it, and so that I could just check like the rapid shutdown, check the safety of it. And I can confirm from my testing, not that I have sophisticated testing equipment, but from what I've tested, as soon, less than a second, like we're talking milliseconds, like maybe maximum half a second, if you pull the plug out or turn the plug off, you almost instantaneously, you hear the relay click inside the unit, and then it does completely isolate it pushing any energy out to the grid. So the pins on the plug are not live. I'm not saying that makes it safe, and there's loads of other considerations that people should be aware of. So I'm not advocating that you do that. I'm just saying there's a reason why the rest of Europe have found this to be safe, and I know there's radial plus ring circuits to consider versus, and where you're injecting the power on the circuit and bypassing protection, etc., etc. I get all of that. I understand why in the UK at the moment we're recommended a dedicated circuit, connecting this on a fuse spur, bi-directional protection, etc., etc. I'm just saying that I did some very basic testing, tried to replicate it over and over, and in all cases this does definitely have rapid shutdown, and it is not injecting power into the grid in case of power cut, for example. Thanks to all the new people who have joined the channel recently. It's been a bit overwhelming seeing the massive influx of people who have subscribed and liked the videos. And if this video has been helpful to you, make sure you give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe for a lot more content in the future. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.